First of all, we're here to get together and honor our honor roll and our Longhorn Pride folks who earned those distinctions this third quarter for your work in the classroom. But even more importantly, we're here to really celebrate a whole school-wide effort that really took place over the last 3 years, because that's kind of where they look back at the last 3 years, some of the things that we've accomplished. And then, in addition, I had a site visit this year. If you guys remember when we had the folks from the Colorado Association of Middle Level Education come and do a site review to learn about what we do here at this whole middle school. And we were honored as being a school to watch. And we're fortunate enough to have the head of that organization, Ms. Diane Lauer. She led the site team. I worked very closely with her with a couple things the National Forum for Middle Level Reform has worked on over the past 3 or 4 years now. We've been colleagues, and we'd just like to give her a very warm welcome as she talks a little bit about what the Schools to Watch recognition means. So please give her a warm welcome.
Educators traveled over 2,000 miles, as far to the western slope and all the way to the eastern side of Kansas, looking for the very best middle schools in the state of Colorado. We sure did find it right here in the South. We look for students who work very hard, who try to be better each and every day. We look for teachers who work collaboratively together to make certain that the learning they provide for you has high expectations and the support you need to be successful. This year, teachers from your school will accept the National Schools to Watch Award. There's only 100 schools across the country that will be going to Washington, D.C. in June to accept this award, and Basalt Middle School is going to be one of those 100 schools. How about that? Yeah! So in fact, it's really the hard work of the 7th and the 8th graders. I know. How many of you think 3 years from now, when you're in 8th grade and in 7th grade, you can win this award again? How many of you?
that is like why it's important to really excel at education. What's in it for you? This is an interesting graph, and you really don't need to read the fine print. You just need to understand what the trends are. You see how there's two distinct trends that are going up and three that are going down, right? And on the bottom it starts in 1960, where there was pretty much an equal amount of these types of jobs, okay? And then some of the types of jobs, like the amount of jobs available in those areas, has been going down and down and down for the last 50 years. And so, like, it's not a trend that we expect to turn around. But then are there other types of jobs that have been increasing over time? For the last 50 years, right? And so it's probably within reason that we can expect these similar trends to continue into the future. So what I'd like you to think of is what types of jobs out there are going to be there for me, okay? Like, and when we look at this, we kind of know the 5 green jobs and the blue jobs. I wonder what kind of jobs those are. Because it's not going to be the purple ones, the orange ones, and the red ones. And so what types of jobs are the ones that are going up, and what types of jobs are the ones that are going down? Well, the blue ones are called non-routine analytical jobs. So what do we know about routine jobs? Routine jobs are the same things all the time, right? Where there isn't a whole lot of difference. Those jobs that are routine have tended to be replaced by technology, or those jobs have moved overseas. There aren't nearly as many routine jobs. But the non-routine jobs, where you really have to think, and you have to analyze a lot of information, those are the jobs that are really going up. Those are jobs that require a high level of education. The green jobs are non-routine interpersonal jobs. And so those are jobs that aren't necessarily having to analyze a lot of data, but it's more working with other people to solve problems. And so if you have very good teamwork skills, yeah, and a high level of education, to do non-routine things and work with other people to accomplish tasks, and you have that type of skill set, you're going to be in really, really good shape. The types of jobs that are going down are anything that requires like manual labor. Okay? So labor type jobs. My grandfather worked in a factory in the Midwest in Michigan for 30 years. Had a great pension. Is set up himself financially really well to send my parents to college. Those jobs aren't around anymore like they used to be. So the other type is any routine job, whether it's analytical or not. Because if it's analyzing data but it's routine, computers can be set up to do that sort of work now as technology is becoming more and more advanced. And so the jobs that are there are jobs that require problem solving. And here's what I want to think about. How much are you practicing these skills in your classes now? Because these are the types of skills that we know you're going to need. Are you engaged in problem solving? Have you had to write persuasively? Or had to argue a point? Or to persuade something? Those are very analytical practices. Things where you have to use creativity, where you have to think out of the box, where you have to come up with maybe more than one solution, or show why your solution was the best. I think there's often a lot of resistance to that in things like math, right? Like, I got the answer, why do I have to show it, okay? Because we need to see the creativity that you use to do it. A lot of times we think of creativity as art, and art is extremely creative. But there is an equal amount of creativity that you can bring to a math problem or a science problem to help solve those issues. And so that, like, being creative in how you can communicate your creative ideas is a super important skill. I talked about how technology is replacing jobs, but people who can use technology in a way that is creative, in a way that it doesn't just, technology doesn't replace it, but technology makes something better. Those sorts of fields are really important. How many of you guys, just raise your hands, have gotten a chance to play with the little Spiro robots already? Okay. Those of you who have played with those, what you're learning, if you've been in the class and you learn to actually code them, is you're starting to learn how to code. Coding and learning how to make a computer do something that you want it to is basically what you're doing in a very fun way with those little robots, and that's why we picked those up. So like, you know, if you learn how to code, and you participated in the hour of code this year, extremely important skills. Hypothesis testing. Have you had to come up with an idea and test to see if it was right or not? And when it's wrong, you have the perseverance and grit to come up with another one, and then another one, and then another one. That type of perseverance and grit and ability to form lots of different ideas of what could be happening is going to be a very important skill set. Anytime you're asked to analyze a piece of writing or a piece of reading and communicate that analysis, and just the skill of writing is something that's communicate ideas is extremely important. How often are you guys on the internet to find information? So the people posting out that information, they're writing, right? And so, you know, that's the way that information is shared these days, and it's an extremely important skill. And the last one is managing people. Can you work in a team? That's the number one reason that people don't retain employment is because they don't work well with others. And so when we talk about teamwork as one of our habits, for you to cultivate those skills is extremely important. Now, a lot of that is around working hard and making sure we're working hard at the right stuff, right? Like, we don't want to be working hard at really routine, easy things. Because if that's how we're preparing you, by doing easy things that are the same thing over and over and over again, you're going to be prepared for a job that is being eliminated. You've probably noticed a shift in how we've taught math a little bit this year, I imagine, right? A lot more word problems, a lot more having to express yourself in writing, yeah? And probably like more challenge. It isn't always easy, and that's where we're supposed to be. Does that make sense? So that by the time you leave our school system, you're able to tackle lots of different problems, communicate about them, read them, analyze them, and write about them in ways that, you know, really show that you're prepared with the types of skills that are going to be needed. And so that's one of the things that we need to work on as a school community, where 3 years from now we can look at that skill set, and for the 5th and 6th graders in this room, if you feel like you're prepared in those ways, we're going to be ready to earn another one of these banners. And that's our challenge. Now the other challenge, and the other reason that I really like this award, is this award isn't just test scores. This award is actually interviewing students, interviewing teachers, interviewing parents, interviewing myself, and really digging in and doing a classroom observation in every single class at the Saltville School. This is a thorough evaluation of our school to earn this award. And if we don't have a positive culture where we're nice to each other and we treat each other right, none of those other things can happen. And so when we talk about work hard and be nice, that really needs to resonate with us, that we make sure we bring our effort every day, and we bring a smile, and we bring a really nice demeanor and attitude to school. And I had a little video I wanted to show just to get us to think about that. And so let's check that out.
I'd say, as a goal in life, you can do worse than try to be kinder. In 7th grade, this new kid joined our class. In the interest of confidentiality, her name will be Ellen. Now, Ellen was small, shy. She wore these blue cat's eye glasses that at the time only old ladies wore. When nervous, which was pretty much always, she had a habit of taking a strand of hair into her mouth and chewing on it. So she came to our school and our neighborhood and was mostly ignored, occasionally teased. Their hair tastes good, that sort of thing. I could see this hurt her. I still remember the way she'd look after such an insult. Eyes cast down, a little gut kicked, as if, having just been reminded of her place in things, she was trying as much as possible to disappear. After a while, she'd drift away, hair strands still in her mouth. Sometimes I'd see her hanging around alone in her front yard as if afraid to leave it. And then she moved. That was it. One day she was there, next day she wasn't. End of story. Now, why do I regret that? Why, 42 years later, am I still thinking about it? Relative to most of the other kids, I was actually pretty nice to her. I never said an unkind word to her. In fact, I sometimes even mildly defended her. But still, it bothers me. What I regret most in my life are failures of kindness. Those moments when another human being was there in front of me, suffering, and I responded sensibly, reservedly, mildly. Or to look at it from the other end of the telescope, who in your life do you remember most fondly, with the most undeniable feelings of warmth? Those who were kindest to you, I bet. But kindness, it turns out, is hard. It starts out all rainbows and puppy dogs, and expands to include, well, everything.
So the reason I'm showing this video, and some of you may have seen it, is that I think it just serves as a wonderful reminder. And I personalize it a little bit, because one of the things it makes me do is think back to middle school. We talk a lot about failure here, and you use that word failure. Like, my worst failures are when I failed to go out of my way to be kind. And where I see that really playing out in middle school is it's easy to be nice when things are going well, and when there isn't conflict. Where I see struggle is when someone is mean, and then we feel like we're justified in being mean back. And every time that happens, does the problem get bigger or smaller? Bigger. Bigger. Like, the biggest challenge is to be kind when others aren't. Or when you see unkindness, and it doesn't really have anything to do with you, to stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to say something about that. But what makes a good school a great school? Or an unsafe school a very safe school? Is when every student feels empowered to say something when they see something unkind. And if we have that culture where the expectation is we're going to be nice to each other, and if someone makes a mistake or experiences one of those failures, they're forced to recognize it and to work on it, there's no limit on where we can go. But if unkindness becomes something that's accepted among our student body, we're going to be spinning our wheels. And so when we talk about work hard and be nice, I think that video serves as a great reminder about why it's so important in our school, and that each of us has an opportunity every day, almost in each moment, to be kind, and kind to one another. So that's something I would really like to stress today. Okay? That said, I'd like you guys to really feel like, as a collective group, our school has accomplished something that's really, really cool. And I get to go to Washington, D.C. this summer and accept an award and meet congressmen and talk to a bunch of people about why middle school education is important. And that ticket came from the efforts of our collective school community. And so each of you should leave here today feeling like you're part of something special, and hopefully knowing what you can continue to do to keep it special over these next 3 years.